What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm not necessarily the world's biggest fan of bullpups. But even still, there is one bullpup that stands out because it's so beloved for being used in classic 80s action movies, video games, and I just had to have one. I'm talking, of course, about the Steyr AUG. Yeah, that's right, I finally got one. Whether you know it from The Walking Dead, Call of Duty, any video game ever, or of course from Die Hard, which is still a Christmas movie, by the way, you definitely know what this gun is. So, let's shoot it. Now, if you're wondering why this is semi-auto and not a full auto, we'll get to that later. In the meantime, there. Happy now? So yes, we are finally filming with the Steyr AUG. If you've played pretty much any first-person shooter ever in the last 15 years, you probably recognize this. Also, if you're a little too old to have played any video games in the last 15 years, you probably remember this from Die Hard, Commando, and pretty much any 80s action movie ever. Well, the AUG stands for the Army Universal Gewehr, or basically the Universal Army Rifle. It was designed and produced in the 70s for the Austrian military. Yeah, that's right, this bad boy hails from Austria. A country known for, among other things, their very inspiring politicians. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who are you thinking? As for the gun itself, it is a bullpup chambered in 5.56, and for those of you who don't know, let me just bring you up to speed real quick on a bullpup. A bullpup is a gun that basically deletes the stock and pushes the trigger ahead of the magazine and the action of the actual gun. Well, Brandon, doesn't that technically make a pistol a bullpup? No, you're wrong and I hate you. The idea here is to make a rifle or a long gun into a shorter, more compact configuration, accomplishing that by using a trigger linkage, which is why most bullpup triggers suck, at least. It's some degree more than they would have had they not had a long-ass linkage going all the way to the rear of the gun on top of your regular trigger pull. And this gun, no real exception. It's not a bad trigger, it's just, it feels kind of janky and plastic, to be honest. Plastic is a pretty good word to sum up this gun too. Lot of polymer. But again, the idea with a bullpup is that even though you have to reload out of your fucking armpits, you have a longer barrel configuration while still being a relatively compact firearm. All right, so now that we're back out here on the range, I figured we'd probably show off a couple more of the, oh. Well, hello, hey. I think we found a wild Zeus. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys have already seen me shoot this thing, so Zeus, you wanna give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right, so I've got it on safety now. We've got a round now chambered.
Okay, and the safety, just pop that guy.
Yep, so you pop that over in.
Ready?
Yep, perfect, now you're hot.
No love tap. This one's for the land.
What'd you think about that one?
I like it.
Yeah?
I like it, yeah.
Was it everything you dreamed it'd be?
I want to love tap this thing.
What do you mean by love tap? What do you want? Why are you eyeballing my gun butt like that? Don't rub your hand, no. Why is this gun semi-auto and not a full auto? After all, I'm quite the connoisseur of fully automatic weapons. Somehow they still have the ability to reach a dark and often forgotten part of my soul and tickle it a little bit. Well, the AUG would traditionally come with something known as a progressive trigger. Basically, it means that if you pull the trigger halfway, you'll get a semi-automatic you know, semi-automatic fire. But if you really push down on the trigger all the way through, which this one does not have the option for, you'll start getting burst fire. You'll get fully automatic fire if you hold the trigger and mash it all the way in. It's a neat concept. I hate it. I've shot progressive triggers before, and I will be perfectly honest, I am not a fan. I understand that it eliminates the need for a selector, which would be kind of awkward on a weapon like this, potentially. I really don't like it, and if it's bad enough that I don't want to go through all the hassle of converting this, you know it's not great, at least that's my opinion. Don't worry, we'll make it up to you later in the video. You also might notice that this doesn't have the traditional AUG, kind of that little skinny scope that's usually found on it. You know, the one from Die Hard and the one that the governor used in The Walking Dead after he freshly got his eye plucked out and still managed to use the scope with his missing eye. Man, that show has some interesting stuff, huh? Well, the reason that one has a scope and this one does not is because that is the older AUG A1. Originally, the AUG didn't utilize Picatinny rail back then during the A1. This right here is an AUG A3. So it's got pick rail and a couple other modernizations, such as, you know, this one's got the, you know, QD mount for slings or what have you up front. And it allows us to mount what we have up here is a Trijicon ACOG, which I kind of like, because I originally put the ACOG on my Scar L back over there, my Scar 16, but I didn't really like the eye relief as much, but I like it a lot better on the AUG. It just gets a lot closer, and it's, the ACOG, in my opinion, or at least this variant of it, the 5561, it's a little bit more tricky with eye relief, so I like getting it a little bit closer to the face. And it just kind of looks dope. Moving over here, we have our charging handle on the left side of the gun. And if you move it up, there's kind of like a little locking place there, where it kind of holds there, and it just kind of like the MP5, you can slap it down. Not as much to grab onto, if you notice, just like that. Not as much to slap, but the good part is it's very sensitive. So you just, you know, kind of push it a little bit, it's not too hard. Now, typically when you think standard capacity magazines, you think of the typical 30 round mags, like with the AR, the AK. Here in the US, 30 rounds is pretty standard capacity, and actually militaries all over the world. Austria, known for occasionally taking things a little far, is no exception in this regard, because 30 rounds is actually not standard for the AUG. 42 rounders are. So we're gonna go ahead and demonstrate using the AUG with that.
Hey!
Cody?
What are you guys doing?
We're filming a fucking video. Have you been behind that berm the whole time?
Shoot your gun!
What are you even doing here?
I'm fucking homeless!
That's right. Yeah, sure, come on. So since I'm not used to doing this whole semi-auto thing all day, you know, who likes doing that shit? We're gonna let Cody try his hand at it. There you are, sir. It's on safe.
Oh, fuck, where's the safe? God damn it, that guy, right?
Yep, nailed it. Damn, I didn't catch a single piece of brass. Do you like? He's a little camera shy these days. One like equals one prayer that Cody finally gets a fucking house. Now let's talk about the operating system a little bit. So this gun looks straight out of a science fiction movie, especially, you know, for the time it was designed, which is probably why it was included in so many of them, just like, you know, the RoboCop movies, Fifth Element, you know, stuff like that. However, don't let the looks deceive you. There is no real Kraut space magic going on, at least not this time. This gun operates very similar to a lot of guns you might know. It's a short stroke operating system, so short stroke, gas operated with a rotating bolt. The bolt follows the typical AR style star pattern. In fact, realistically, this gun falls more in line with the AR-18 family of rifles and all of their many derivatives. So if you really want to get technical, this really shares a lot of its design with this. You may not believe me. I really don't care, it's true. And much like the AR-18 pattern of rifles and all of their many, many shapes and colors over the years, it has some unique problems, which we'll get into that in a bit. First off, some of the really cool stuff that I do like about it. One, it's a fucking AUG. AUGs are just neat. But one thing I really do love is over here. So for one, actually, let me talk about this real quick. This is an adjustable gas system, so that is also pretty cool. But on this side, you see this little lever here. So now that I have, as you can see, the bolt is locked back, and just for everybody at home, the weapon has been cleared. Safety first, third, second, first. So what this is a lever that you can hit, and that allows you to rotate the barrel out, which is super cool. So you've got these interrupted threads here, these little teeth on the barrel that lock it into place when it rotates back in, when you put it back in. And yeah, no, the barrel just pops out of the gun. You also have your foldable front grip here. I think that's pretty nifty, especially for storage. As you can see here, this folding foregrip is also attached to what is essentially our gas block here, which contains the short stroke piston, which that little bugger just pops out ever so slightly, which hits something else that unlocks the gun and allows it to cycle. Short stroke, just like you. You have a tiny penis. I kid. If there's any sign that you've got a giant dick, it's that you're subscribed to this channel, which you fucking better be, by the way. I'd like to say that if you subscribed that, you know, I would turn this full auto for the channel, but I'm fucking not gonna. I'm just not gonna. However, subscribing will mean you get to see all the cool new machine guns that I've got planned for you guys in the future, for the videos coming up, which are going to be baller. And you'll get to see them because you're subscribed. Also, be sure you've got notifications on. That way you can watch our videos before sometimes they get taken down 24 hours after we post them. If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I would have 2 nickels. Which is not a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Now an ADD break for you low attention span fucks. White Claw penetration test. Black Cherry dying hard in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, no, I'd say that penetrates. That's actually kind of cool. It crumbled the top of the can inward. That's pretty fucking neat. Physics or something. I don't know. We're not that smart. So now I'll put the barrel back in. Just go right there. And it fits into a little slot. And then that springs back in, which is super fucking nifty. Like, that is just super quick. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I played with this gun, like, I was very, very impressed by that. Just the quick change barrel stuff. Like, yeah, it's neat. It's really cool. Little gun, elements of gun design like that, you know, really kind of do something for me. And apparently it does something for you guys too, because you like watching technical breakdowns like this. And if you are one of those guys that's super interested in that, and maybe you'd like to try to make a career out of gunsmithing, gun design, and just playing with shit like we kind of do, recommend checking out SDI. SDI, or the Sonoran Desert Institute, is a wonderful resource if you're trying to get your start and you really just don't know where to turn to. It's a great resource for a lot of you guys trying to get your start, and for a lot of guys that just really think stuff like this is neat. So if you want to check them out, links are in the description and in the pinned comment, and we appreciate the hell out of them for being an awesome sponsor. So now we've talked about the gun a little bit and kind of a few things that I think are nifty about it, time to shit on it. One of my gripes, of course, is the progressive trigger. I'm not a big fan of the progressive trigger. Not a problem that a lot of you guys are gonna have, just because, you know, you guys are probably, if you're interested in, you know, getting something like this, you're only gonna be looking at the semi-auto variant that's available in the civilian market. I do have some other kind of bigger gripes though. So another thing I'm not particularly fond of that I found out about is that if you're giving it a little bit too much of a love tap during magazine insertion, the rounds kind of like to go free willy. That's not great. Yeah, checking to see if you fully seated the magazine, and then you have a round just hop out into that.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And just in case you guys were curious, yes, it does do that on the standard issue magazines as well. At least it's, you know, easily accessible. It falls in a convenient spot. So another thing we found out about the Steyr AUG is that, like a lot of the other AR-18 inspired weaponry, it doesn't really love steel case ammo. So, well, let's see if it does this all right. First fucking round. That is not great. That is a stuck case. That is completely lodged in the barrel now. So you can see there's the spent round that did not extract, did not eject. And actually when I opened up the bolt, I could see a flake of the rim of that steel case. So we're gonna have to beat that out. my rod isn't long enough. We have the technology, thanks to the lovely shit stored in the back of an AK cleaning kit. There we go. Suboptimal. So while this gun definitely has some drawbacks that I'm not a huge fan of, it's still just a really neat part of firearm history and I guess kind of world military history. It blows my mind that this gun is almost 50 years old. This weapon system was released around the same time as the original fucking Star Wars. So while no, this is not even close to my new favorite operating system and you know, go-to combat rifle necessarily, it has definitely earned a spot in my weapon library and on my wall. Unless I get bored of it or if I forget. Man, so the Steyr AUG has its problems, as every gun does, but overall, it's pretty cool, and if nothing else, it's just another addition to the arms library. I'll reference collection of cool guns from across history and shit that I always just wanted because, let's face it, this stuff's pretty neat. It still doesn't quite feel right ending this video on a semi-auto though, but I got an app for that. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As you can tell, you know, we got some future content lined up for you guys I think you're gonna enjoy. So go ahead and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks. So remember when I talked about that you know, weapons, family, or fuck me.
Everything you want to say to the people at the very end of the video?
Hi, good to see you again. This is how filming actually goes.